Hi, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. This one's a bit longer, just over an hour, as I'm still adjusting to my new process for Project Life pages. I did cut out a lot of the hybrid part, but I kept in the bits that I thought might be the most helpful or the most interesting to watch. As always, feel free to fast forward. These videos are for you, so watch them in whatever way makes the most sense for you. As you can see, I am starting here with a page protector that has 4 6x6 squares on it. I'm going to be putting a combination of things in this page protector, and I'm also going to cut it down in half. So the second outer half it won't be actually being used. If you'd like to see the full real-time process with all of my explanations for this video, you can find those over on my Patreon, but this edited version, I'm doing the best that I can here, but man, it was hard to cut it down to even just an hour. I had to cut out so much stuff. This layout took, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how long it took. It took 7 hours over 4 different scrapping sessions over, I think, 3 different days. So yeah, it was a bit of a marathon, and I honestly can say that I do really love this new process. I think that it's going to result in more meaningful pages. So here I am just trimming down these photos, and I had this idea that I could fill a 6x6 square with one 4x6 photo, and then below it 2 horizontal 2 by 3 inch photos, and that would fill a 6-inch square. I also cut the top part off of the top pocket because I didn't really need a full, like 2 full 6x6 squares. I really just needed the one 6x6 to hold my bigger photo, and then at the top I wanted to have a 4x6 pocket instead of a full 6x6 one. So what I'm doing here is actually the back side. These are the cards that will go behind that 6x6-inch photo. This is representing just the insert for this page. So I'm going to end up working on this for quite a while, and it's only going to be the insert that goes between my pages, which I haven't even done yet. I cut out the part where I figured out my journaling. I do print onto 4x6-inch sticker sheets. These are Avery 8.5 by 11 sticker sheets. I get the matte clear stickers, and I cut them into 4x6 pieces, which does result in quite a bit of waste. I try to hang on to the waste and use it for potentially stamping purposes, but I never seem to use the waste. So this is just the only matte sticker paper that I could find. It is fairly expensive, and if you know of a good matte sticker paper besides the Avery kind, please let me know, because any other sticker paper I've ever bought, even if it says matte, it's always shiny. So I have plenty of shiny sticker paper, but I really like the look of this matte sticker paper. As you can see, I'm just using my T ruler to help me align these strips. I thought that it would be a really big pain for me to try to figure out how to align my journaling so that I could print this journaling right on the card and have all of the journaling pieces line up in all of the right places. So I just decided to do it this way, cutting them into strips and then sticking them down gives me a lot of control over where this journaling is going to land, because I wanted it to line up with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prompts that were on this card. This card is from the Ali Edwards Together story kit, which is an older kit of hers. And I'm using several things from it. I'm not going to use the whole kit, and I am using a combination of this kit and a few other items from my stash. And you'll see midway through this process, my new Stories by the Month kit arrives. And so I do a little impromptu unboxing in the middle of this process video and try to figure out how to incorporate those goodies into what's left of this page at that point. I'm just sticking these down the best that I can, and I really like how it looks. It does have a real typewriter look, because I do have an old typewriter, and it often ends up with my lines not being fully aligned. And so, I think that this looks pretty good. It is certainly not perfect, but that was not my intention. So I have all these little bits to throw into my garbage, and I really love how this card looks, actually. I really, really love it. So now I just need to figure out how to make this card into a 6 by 6 inch square instead of a 4 by 6. So I just took another 4 by 6 inch card there. I have these really inexpensive cards from Amazon that are 4 by 6. They're already cut that size and they're white. So it's a really good thing to use when they're not great for doing any kind of detail work on, but they're really great for just having a white blank surface. So that fills up the back of that 6 by 6 block fairly well. And then I also had this piece of ephemera from the night at the restaurant. I snagged myself a coaster before any of them got wet. And I'm going to use that along with a little embellishment from an old Kelly Perky kit there with the gifts on it. And then on the flip side, just a filler card is fine for the top here. So I really like this better together. And I like the juxtaposition of the red on white. No, yeah, the red on white in the bottom and then the white on red in the top. I thought that made this look kind of interesting and pulled together. I'm adding a little sticker from that same Together kit. It says love being together, and I just stapled it in place and put it in there. And now I am finished the insert, which is really nice. Have those extra pieces. I used to keep those, but I found it hard to store so many different things that I was keeping. So I made the decision to just allow myself to throw away those sorts of things, unless if I have a specific use for them that I can think of in the moment. So just tossed those. Now, I am going to spend some time working on this card about the new Switch 2 that came out. I really love this circle card. It is from one of the Ali Edwards kits, and it just says, so thankful for this hobby. So it's from the hobby kit from Ali Edwards. I think that was a story kit. And I just love that yellow striped background with the circles on it. And then there are word circles that say, so thankful for this hobby, repeated over and over again in each of those circles. My thought here was that I could get maybe some stock photos of the Switch 2 itself and then some of the games that I'm looking forward to playing and put those on there. First, I need to find a punch that's going to be the right shape. So I do have this template that I made a long time ago using those same Amazon cards, and it just has every punch that I have. And I meant to laminate this, but I never did. So it's just made out of paper. It's a little flimsy, but it'll do the trick. It's certainly easier than pulling out all of my punches. So I figured out which punch I needed by using that. And now I think I'm going to put these two cards together. This one above it that is from a Kelly Perky kit, and it has video games on it. So I thought that was a really good option for me there. We are live streaming and chatting with the tiaras over on Patreon as I make this. So you'll see some comments every here and there. I am figuring out my journaling here. So I definitely want to put some journaling on that yellow card with the band in the middle, the Kelly Perky card. But first I went online. I did cut this part out, but I just went online and found some stock photos of my favorite games. So we've got Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Animal Crossing, and the new Mario Kart World. And I punched them all out with that circle punch, which allows you to still see the words around the outside edges of those circles. And I'm going to use my ATG to adhere this. Now you will see a point at which I regret this arrangement. So as I place these, I will point out that stock photo of the Switch 2 up in the center there, I really wish I had put that in the bottom center instead of in the top center, because it's going to end up throwing off the balance of what I end up doing here. But at this point, I don't know that that's what's going to happen. And so you'll see me make the decision to not change that. So I'm going to place that little controller down there and see how the controller is way lighter in weight than the Switch 2. I should have noticed this at this point, but I just didn't. So I'm thinking at this point that this video game section of this spread will include those 3 cards right there. So the one 4x6 and the 2 3x4s above it. I'm going to just show a tiny bit of my process here of just figuring out the journaling. So I do have 2 Pages documents that I use often. So Pages is the word processing document that I use. You might use Word or some other word processing. I just have documents in each of them. I have one that's 3x4 and one that is 4x6. And I've saved it, and I just always use the same one over and over again and replace my journaling with whatever my new journaling is. I also keep my journaling for the whole month in a note on my phone, which allows me at any point to just take a look at my photos and add a bit of journaling for each one, whether I'm waiting in a lineup someplace or in the car waiting for one of my kids or just sitting on the couch while Scott watches a video I'm less interested in. I try to build that journaling process into my life now instead of waiting until I'm sitting down scrapbooking to come up with the wording for these things. So as you can see, this is my little strategy that I've come up with. As I've mentioned, I'm new to this, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm figuring it out as I go. I print my journaling onto a little sample card. These are those inexpensive Amazon cards. I just cut them in half, and then I've got 3x4 versions of them. I keep them over by my printer, and I do use the Epson PictureMate PM400, and that allows you to print at a variety of different sizes, including 3x4. It says 3x5, but you can print at 3x4. It doesn't. I just move the little thing that holds your paper in place so that it's smaller, and I've never had a problem with it. I don't select a certain size. I just let the printer figure it out on its own, and it so far has always done a good job of doing that. So I don't want to use another sticker paper for this. As I mentioned, that sticker paper is not inexpensive. So whenever I can, I'd rather be printing right on the card. So I'm going to go ahead and print several versions of this as I tweak the margins. And I left this process in. Don't worry, I'm going to not do this for every single thing, but I just wanted to give you a sense. I do like to share my entire process with you, and I just wanted to give you a sense of what's involved in getting my journaling onto these cards in case you haven't done it before. If you've done it before, you probably have your own way of doing it. Let me know how you do it, because everybody's brains and workflows work differently. So I'd love to hear how you get your journaling onto your cards. Do you handwrite it? Do you print it? Do you put it on stickers? What are you up to these days? So I have my journaling all right directly on the card now. Didn't have to use a sticker, which I'm very happy about. I'm adding the roller date stamp that says June 5th, 2025. And I have just checked off the Nintendo box because the options were PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. And then under playing, I just put Switch 2. Then I have 2 QR codes for videos that I captured as I booted up my Switch 2 and began playing Breath of the Wild, a new playthrough of that game, which is my very favorite Zelda game. And this time I had the wherewithal to capture that initial scene where you run out and get to see Hyrule for the first time. And I really love that video here. I'm actually showing it to my patrons there. So I am so happy that I filmed it this time, because I didn't the first time I was playing. When I first played it, I didn't know it would end up being my very favorite game of all time. So now I know, and I wanted to just capture that. Even though it's pretty generic and it's the same for everybody, I still just really love that moment when the music starts and you get to see it. And of course, with the Switch 2, the resolution is way better. And so it's really, it was a moment. I had to document it. I have these cards. This card is actually from the MTK kit, one of the MTK kits. And it gives you these 2 little squares and some journaling lines beside them. And I designed them specifically for this exact kind of scenario. So I'm happy to be able to do that. I also have this video of me drinking coffee at Brewster's Roost on Animal Crossing New Horizons. And that's not a particularly great clip, but it was the clip that I had from I fired up Animal Crossing on the Switch 2 just to see what it was like. I love that my island is no longer lagging. It's actually pretty amazing. I'm going to cut down the word gamer here on this little card that I have from a Kelly Perky kit. It's an old Kelly Perky kit. And what I want to do is type a word on this title area. So this card was designed with the two little boxes, the journaling lines beside them, and then a little place to put a title. I'm going to use these letters stamps from Kelly Perky. I can't remember what those ones are called, but they are from Kelly Perky. Don't know if she still has them on her website, but you could always check it out. I'm going to spell out the word vibes, and then I'm going to layer the word gamer on top of it so that it basically says gamer vibes. I'm starting in the middle, and I'm just using, that's a Stampin' Up! Stamp chamois tool. I forget what they call it, but it is from Stampin' Up! I really like it because it fits perfectly in that DVD case, and then having it in there keeps everything clean, like on the rest of my desk. I can just lay it on my desk and not have to worry about getting things wet. So I worked from the outside in. Pardon my head there as I try to align that in the right spot. I just used my Versamark Black Onyx ink. And now I'm going to have to cut down that gamer title just a little tiny bit. It has a little bit too much extra space on either side of the word. So I'll just use my scissors to cut that down. And then I'm going to place that. I specifically chose a font for those stamps that was big enough that if I covered some of the letters with the word gamer, I would still be able to see what it says. So that's what I did right there. I really like the idea of putting game on right here. And I just moved that gaming console controller, and I had an opportunity. I could have just switched them right there, but I did not. So I'm just going to pop this up. I'm using some foam from my stash. It's just fun foam from the dollar store. And I'm going to glue these little tiny pieces instead of using dimensional adhesive, which is a little bit pricier than fun foam from the dollar store. So I've been trying to use this whenever I can. And once I place it, it puts some glue on the Switch 2 photo, the one with the red background, that later on when I go to change those, I'm not going to be able to change them very easily. So I don't change them. So, but I do like it. I just wish that the Switch 2 was underneath. Now I wanted to include this part. Most of the stuff I'm not going to include, but I wanted to include this part because it just shows my new process, which is instead of printing up all my photos in whatever sizes I think I'm going to need, instead now I'm printing my photos specifically to fit in certain pockets and to go with certain stories. So what I have on my computer right now is all of the photos that I want to use. They're all right there. And then all the journaling that I have. So I keep flipping back and forth between my Photos app and taking a look at what photos I have and deciding. So I have this one of a close-up of Liv's hand. So I'm just making a 3x4 card there that I can know that I want that photo to go in one of those pockets. So these cards that I'm using are basically just placeholders for my photos and for my journaling stories. I'm having a look at what size stories I have to tell, and that will give me a sense of where I might need my journaling to go and which stories and photos will need a 4x6 pocket, which ones will be able to fit on a 3x4 pocket, and also which ones might need a bit of extra space. So those ones might need some type of a flip up of some sort. So I just wanted to include some of this process because it is different than my usual process. If you watched my last video, my last Project Life video, I did this in that video as well, and I really, really loved the results. And so I'm trying to incorporate this method into my scrapbooking moving forward. My hope is that it will be a little bit less lengthy as time goes by and I get a little bit more proficient at switching between the apps. Remember, I'm live streaming this, so I'm trying to show my process as I go so that people aren't just waiting for me to do the computer work in the background. I'm trying to show the whole process. So I'm also trying to figure out how to share my screen and have that be the most efficient so that people can see both what I'm doing on my desk and what I'm doing on my screen. So I think that as I go along in this process, I might get more proficient at both of them. I certainly hope so, because I don't want to spend 7 hours doing a single spread ever again. I think that that's my goal, is to do it in less than 7 hours from now on. So I have that beautiful come together card, which that's not going to make it into the spread. And I will show you the process where I changed my mind about that. It's actually a really beautiful, it's a plasticky, rubbery kind of piece, and I really love it. But I'm going to save it for something else because I have another thing that's going to end up going there. So this is my plan for the spread, and some things are going to change, but this is for the most part what it's going to be like. Some of these photos I already have in place because as I figured out where everything would go, I sent some of these to print, so they're printing up as I figure out the rest of it. And as they print up, I will replace them with the photos that go in those places. So I did have a difficult time teaching myself how to do this, how to make text go around a shape. But that's because I don't know how to use my design software, but I'm learning as I go. So now I know how to do that. I wrote myself notes so that I could remember if I have to do it again. And here is the unboxing of the new Ali Edwards kit. We're on day 2 of me scrapping this now, and the new kit came. So I'm just going to open it up here and have a look at what's inside. And my hope is that I will be able to have some more generic cards to go with this spread, because so far I'm using the Together kit, which is highly themed towards togetherness, and not every story I have is in that theme. And so I had obviously pulled in some other stuff from my stash, but this gives me a nice opportunity to have some more generic things that are oriented towards the month of June, which is what I'm documenting here. So I'm just taking a minute to have a look at what my options are here. I'm a little surprised because I used to subscribe to the Stories by the Month kit ages ago, and they didn't have this many die cuts in them. So that was surprising and fun to have these die cuts that are specifically sized to work with 4x6 and 3x4 inch cards. I love her chipboard pieces. I always have. This month there is a series of circles. I'm also surprised to see all of this vellum. I love working with vellum, and look at all the vellum in this kit. There's a whole package of 4x6 inch vellum, some 3x4 inch vellum, and then obviously also all these cards. These cards are single-sided, and don't hesitate to use the backs of anything that you don't like, because there's no point in holding on to stuff that isn't your style or that you'll never have a use for. It's better to use those cards for something else. So I have a sense of what's in this now, and I will pull in those cards as needed. But in the meantime, all of these photos that I printed up have all accumulated. So I'm ready to start cutting them down. I printed that photo of the liquor store in black and white. I have a story to go with that. Don't typically take pictures of liquor stores, but there is a story to go with it. Printing down a photo of my friends at our movie club meeting. We meet at a different brewery every month to discuss our movie. This month we were discussing Anora. And here's the point at which I'm deciding there are 2 of these cards, and I don't really want to put that beautiful card behind a plastic pocket. So I thought I would hold on to it, and I suspect I might have a use for it. Over on Patreon, we're doing a year-long Book of Me project, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to use that in my Book of Me project. So I'm just going to hang on to it for that. I really like the idea of taking this black and white photo of the liquor store and putting something on it. I pulled out the Unexpected kit from Ali Edwards, and it has all these little words that I thought would be cool. I'm basically telling a story about how one of Liv's gig jobs included going around to different liquor stores, seeing if they would ID her and kind of evaluating their customer service. So it was like being a mystery shopper. And she and I took a little road trip along the south shore of Nova Scotia, hitting up all the liquor stores. And I just thought that it was kind of funny, a funny mother-daughter task to do that I would have never expected I would be doing this with my daughter when she was a little baby and I first held her in my arms. So I have some journaling along those lines and I want to include it. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to do this. I'm pretty sure it's going to need to be in a flip, so I'm planning for a little tent flip here in the bottom of my layout. I have the black and white photo of the liquor store on the outside. So in Canada, we can't just buy liquor at any store. You have to buy, if it's alcohol, you have to buy it at a certain store. So those stores are where we went. We went to 4 of them in one day. So I have the idea that I will have a 6x8 piece of paper that will be scored down the center to make a tent fold. On the outside will be the black and white photo. It may have something on it. You see me, I keep on thinking about using that orange square with the little opening in it. And then on the inside, it will have this photo of the food from the restaurant that we stopped at, the journaling card that says plot twist that I already have my journaling pre-printed onto. I did that. I just cut out that part. It was in the process. It was in the live stream, but I cut it out of this video. And then something else will go beside the plot twist, some type of a 3x4 inch card. I just don't know what. Now, I would like to put some journaling on that photo of the fish tacos as well. But I'm still working out how I might do that. I really love this flag piece that came in the Stories by the Month kit that I just got. Love it with the little circles on it. It's really cute. And I thought, I don't love that it covers up all of the French fries on the plate. And so I'm thinking about how I might be able to attach it so that maybe it swings out so that you could see those French fries if you wanted to. To be honest, the fries were the best part of the whole meal. They were the most delicious fries I've ever had. The service was really terrible. And so I am really glad that the fries were good. So I've landed on this hand card because I really like this hand card and I always struggle with using hands in my projects. So I think that this is going to be a good way for me to be able to use an item that I really, really love and would struggle to use any other way. So if I see the opportunity to use that kind of an embellishment, I go ahead and take it. So here I got confused and I thought that I wanted to do it this way. I see how I switched the journaling, and what I forgot is that then my journaling is going to be on top of other journaling. When I put the fish taco in place, the journaling for that is going to be right above the journaling for the plot twist. So I will switch those around. Luckily, the ATG is pretty forgiving. Now, when you're making one of these cards, you just want to make sure that you don't put your cards on top of the flippity flap, the tent fold. You want to make sure that they're not exactly right in the corner. You need to leave yourself a little bit of space for that fold to work. It works like a little bit of a hinge, right? And so when you score it, it makes a mountain on one side and a valley on the other side, and the mountain is on the inside, and you need to make sure that you don't cover up that little bump that runs the length of that fold. As long as you don't interfere with that bump, you'll be fine, and this card will lie flat in your project. So my thought is that I'll put a little bit of extra journaling in this orange thing. Ali Edwards has included these a couple of times, and I never know how to use them. It says, "Did not see this coming," and so I have a bit of extra things to say. It says, since her summer job doesn't start until June 16th, Liv does mystery shops to make some extra money for school. I'm going to use my Sharpie pen to write that, if I can find it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Ah, yes, right. So first, I wanted to draw some lines on there. Wow, I did a good job. When I look at it here, they actually look like they were printed on it. So hooray for me. I did a good job. I just found a gray marker or a very light marker. Yeah, it was a light gray marker from Stampin' Up. And I just used a ruler to draw them in place. So with that done, now I just need to figure out how I'm going to put this on my photo. And also thinking about whether I want to put that chipboard piece over top of the door to that little journaling piece. And this is what I keep thinking about. I keep going back to adding this. It says the story. The whole reason I'm using this orange thing is because it was, here is where I noticed that now my journaling is going to be on top of other journaling. So I'm going to switch those around after all. So my whole reason in using that orange thing with the door on it is that it says did not see this coming. It's from the unexpected kit, and it goes along with my story. So covering it up with something that says the story, I do like how that looks, but I just don't think I'm going to do it. My thought here is that without some type of a little handle or a tab or something, it might be hard to know that you're supposed to open this. It does have a little semicircle cut out of it. Because it's on the outside of my layout and it'll be handled a little bit, and it might be handled even more because it's a little tricky to open up the door, I'm using score tape on this, which is very, very strong tape. This is not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to place that right over the extra cars that I didn't really want to have featured. Without something here, those cars look like they're the main deal, because you think, well, who would take a picture of a liquor store? So it must be about the cars. So that just helps to keep the focus on the actual store and not on the parking lot or the cars in the parking lot. So I ultimately decided that that little washi tape flag handle opener thingy was just not going to work. I didn't like how it looked. It wasn't making it all that easier to open. So I just decided people are going to just have to figure it out. And it is pretty obvious that there's something in there. You can even see a little bit of a word. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the journaling for the fish tacos. So I'm going to write, stopped for lunch at Eli and Trix in Mahone Bay. They forgot about us, so we waited 45 minutes for our lunch and they only comped us 20%, which we were expecting one of our meals to be free with the amount we waited. Like, they waited 45 minutes before they even started making our food. And it wasn't even busy. We were one of 4 tables in the place. So I don't know how they forgot us. So anyhow, the fries were good, and we had the whole day to go to 4 liquor stores. So it's all right. It was a beautiful day. We had a great time going for walks in these little towns in the south shore of Nova Scotia. It was pretty nice, actually. So I am now I'm scouring my drawer for my small little container of brads, little tiny neutral brads. So I will spare you the detail of me trying to find them and just fast forward to the point where I had already found them. These are little tiny brads. They're from a variety of different companies. I keep them in this Stampin' Up! Little container. And basically anything that looks like it could be a nail or a screw or something neutral that's not colorful, I put in this little container. And now I know I keep it in the drawer with my wood veneers, and I will try to never forget that again. Because I spent a lot of time looking for it. I even went downstairs looking for it. So I'm going to put that little brad. I have a tiny little 1/16 of an inch hole punch, so I used that. And now that does swing very nicely to show the fries. And I like how that works. I'm going to just trim it up so that you can't see that piece from the back, from when it's closed. And now, meanwhile, I did send this photo to print. I think I had printed it in a large format, but now that I have that hands card that I'm using, I decided to print the tiniest little photo of Liv here at the restaurant and just put it among those hands. So I trimmed it down so that it had all kinds of extra space on either side of it. So you see what I did there? I just cut it down, and then I used the same white photo paper to create my own little borders around it as if it was always that size from the beginning. That's a little hack I do to make things smaller. I just reuse the border by cutting it down and layering it on top of itself. I do that all the time with photos. So this one is pretty much done. I'm just going to do a little bit of outlining around the outside edges of this little journaling piece. Just gives it a little bit more emphasis and helps it stand out from the photo that it's layered upon. And here is where I decide to change this. It's been bugging me, and I decide, you know what, it's bugging me, so I might as well just change it. Now, the problem is that I had to color in with red marker because that photo was not the right size to be punched. And so there was a little bit of white on the top and on the bottom of it. And I would have to, there's a little bit of glue on the bottom part of that, which looks weird because of the marker. And so I'm going to try to take it off, but I'm not going to do a great job of that. And it's going to end up being too much of a pain because I had to print that photo several times to get it the right size to fit in the circle punch. And now I can't remember what size I ended up making it. And although I do like it better down there, I would have to reprint it, and I do not want to reprint it. So I'm just going to do my best to put this back together again, and we're just going to live with it the way that it is. There you go. It looks great. So where are we heading next on our layout? Let's figure this out. I pull this down to think about what I want to do next, and let's start with this flippity flap right here. So I'm going to do another 6x8 paper that I will turn into a tent fold by scoring it down the middle. I have a little stash of 6x8 papers. Some of them are manufactured papers. A lot of them are from Kelly Perky kits. A few of them are from Allie Edwards kits. And I also sometimes draw from 6x8 paper pads, like pattern paper pads. But this one is just a plain white 6x8 paper. It will hold the structure of this flippity flap, as I call them. I'm putting photos inside, like full 4x6-inch photos on the inside, and then the journaling on the outside. And then the third photo that goes with this story will go in the pocket right next to this. So it'll be a 2-pocket story. I wanted to put something in this empty circle here, and I decided to put this chipboard piece. I'm just aligning it in from the words a little bit because it's a different angle, it's a different sized circle than what the items that are printed there, like the happiness word. And so moving it out makes it less obvious that it's the wrong angle. So this is how these two will go, either this way or that way. I don't know. Does it really matter? Maybe it does. I'm going to put it this way for now, and then at the end I'll switch it. Now, I would like to do just a little something else with these extra photos. And I'm thinking, now last time I used a vellum flip on one of the items on my page. That would be my late May pages. And I really loved how that looked, but I don't think I'm going to repeat that quite yet. I would like to put something, maybe a circle of some sort, in this photo of the forest with the lady slippers. And I would love to put this little strip. There's a bunch of these little strips. And this blue one says, saying yes to all this. And I like the blue because it stands out from all the other colors that are in that photo. So I'm going to go with that right there. And then I have to think about what other things I want to put. And because I have 3 photos, I thought I would take these circles that say 1, 2, and 3 and make it clear that all three of these go with the same story. They're not necessarily a sequence of photos like this one comes first and this one comes second and this one comes third. It's more about this is a series of photos that all go together. So I'm telling that story without telling that story. And I really love when I have the chance to do that in Project Life. It's one of my favorite things about scrapbooking is that you can tell some of your story with words and some of it with die cuts and stamps and stickers and all sorts of different ways, right? I'm using my roller date stamp to add the date. That makes it even more clear that these were all from the same outing. And I'm just going to place them with my ATG, but then I'm also going to staple them. Cutting this down a little bit so it fits better, and I will do the same with that. I'll glue all these things down with my ATG, and then I will go back with a stapler. And when I staple, when possible, I'm putting it in between the layers so that you can't see the staple on the other side. I really don't mind seeing the staple on the other side. So sometimes if I can't do that, I just staple anyways. I don't care about that kind of thing. Everybody's different, so if you do care about that kind of thing, then you just have to be a bit more creative about where you put those staples. Next, I'm going to be doing my movie club cell, which is another tent flap. I tend to keep all of my flaps on the left-hand side of the page because that allows me to do tent fold flaps instead of needing to do plastic pocket flaps, which you will see because I do end up putting a pocket on the left side of this layout. It just doesn't happen until much later in this process. This one, I am using a 6x8 paper pad. I cut the paper in length, but in half lengthwise, so that I have this basically 8x3-inch strip. And I scored it down the center, and I will put the Anora poster photo on the outside of this, and then the photo of Adam and Jen at the brewery in the inside part of it. Oh, here's my mistake. So I really wanted to use this card, and I'm going to show this just because I made a mistake. So I like people to learn from my mistakes. I am adjusting the margins here, and I think I'm going to print this on a sample paper so that I can make sure that it's going to work. So I just adjusted the margins. These are journaling pieces that I already have. I'm just copying and pasting from my Notes app into the Pages app. So it says a character-driven story with gritty charm and sharp social insight feels like Pretty Woman reimagined if class and power and money were allowed to complicate the fantasy. It's a smart critique of the American dream, showing access and agency dependent on who's holding the wealth. I'm changing what I had journaled there a little bit to make it fit better on the card that I want to use here. And I'm going to change the size and just play around with it. As you can see, I keep referring back to the card that's in my left hand there. And you see how I turned that upside down before I put it through? I should not have done that. Why did I do that? It ended up printing wrong. So I only shed a few tears about this and then immediately said, okay, fine, let's just print on the back side of it. So I don't know if I did the back side of it or if I just picked another card. I'm pretty sure I just used the back side of it because it's already ruined. And now in that space that I would have had those beautiful little strips of color that match perfectly with the rest of my page. Yeah, I did use the back side of it. I am putting a strip of washi tape because it does a little bit of the same thing. This roll of washi tape is one of my favorites. It shows up all the time in my project life, and it has a really similar color scheme to what this kit has. So this kit also came with these beautiful shiny gold letter stickers. I'm not a huge fan of shiny gold these days. I used to use gold all the time. So this is a bit of a throwback for me. I do like these in this case, but they're not my favorite letters. I do like the font though. And so there we go. We have the name of the movie, which we already know because it's on the outside flap, but I knew that I had some movie related stamps. So I pulled out my Tech and Leisure stamps, which are all in the same category here. And a lot of these are gaming and reading related, but I've got some video game or some watching movies ones. We've been doing movie club for a couple of years now, so I have a lot of stamps that are designed to help me document stories about our movie club. So I grabbed this one. It's a little rectangle and it says now watching. I'm going to pull back the washi tape so that I can stamp not using stays on ink. I don't love using stays on ink. My ink pad needs to be re-inked and I can't find my re-inker. I'm going to use this Midnight Mist ink from Stampin' Up. It's my favorite blue. It's like a denim blue. I really love it. It picks up on the blue that's already on the card and the little dot in the bottom. It says now watching, and then I just put the washi tape back in place, and there we go. That one is done. It doesn't look as good as it would have looked with the card that I planned to put it on, but it looks good. So there we go. There we go. We have our tent fold, and I'm just playing around with it and seeing if I want to trim it up. It's not perfect. Like you can see some of the card below, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. I'm looking for a label sticker to put on this photo because the photo is kind of out of context. You can't tell exactly what that's about. So I wanted to put a photo just to help clarify. So I grabbed this one from Studio Calico and I am going to write on it. It says Movie Club Meeting at Propeller. I had to look up propeller. There's actually two ways of spelling it. You can spell it with an O-R or with an E-R. But this particular brewery uses ER, which I should have known. I have their sticker on my laptop, so I guess I just haven't looked at it very closely to notice the spelling. I'm going to grab my roller date stamp and stamp the date, which was June 6th, 2025, and that one is done. Those flippity flaps are a really great way to use 6x8 paper pads. The papers that you don't like or don't think you'll ever use, it's a great way to use those up. The paper flippity flaps are not nearly as durable as the ones that are on a thicker cardstock. So do keep that in mind. You have to be cautious as you score it that you don't score too deep, or you can actually tear the paper and make that hinge be like a vulnerability point. Like it's a place where it could easily break or rip. So do be cautious about that. But as long as you score it easily, I've been using the paper, the 6x8 paper pads for my flips for years, and it works really well. So then we have this Together. It says, Together, a little story about us. It's an Ali Edwards cards from the Together kit. And I have this 2x3 inch photo of Scott and myself at the golf course. Did a little bit of journaling. We don't golf, we just go there to eat. And did a little bit of journaling there for that. And now I am documenting the photo of my daughter's promposal. Her friend asked her to the prom. She's not dating anyone right now, and neither is her friend, so they went together. And they've been friends since the beginning of elementary school, so a really long time friends. So it was nice that they got to go to prom together. And I just slapped that on a card, and it says like she's holding the sign, so you can tell what it is. I don't need to say anything about it. I did choose a card, one of those Ali Edward cards from the Stories by the Month kit. It's the one with the little red dots all over it, and they do say yes all over it, so I thought that was appropriate where she did say yes to the promposal. Next, I pulled out these gold stickers. They're from Pink Fresh Studio, and they are from my stash. I don't know where I got them, but they're amazing. And they're a matte gold, which I do really still like. And I'm just going to spell out Northern Lights. We did get a chance to see the Northern Lights, which I had never seen from here. I think I saw the Northern Lights when I was in Edmonton once, but at the time, I don't remember if I actually saw them or if they were just out and we looked and saw them. I don't have a great memory for it, so if I saw them, it didn't make very much impact. So this is what I'm counting as my first time seeing the Northern Lights. Whether it's true or not, this is what I'm going with. So I'm spelling out Northern Lights. We did not get a great picture. They were not all that spectacular. It was cool to see them, just knowing what they are and seeing them in pop culture and living in Canada. They're a big, I guess, emblem of my country. So it was nice to see them. But as you can see, the photo is kind of weird. It's not the greatest photo. And even seeing them in real life wasn't that great either. But I saw them, so that's cool. Some people around here back in October saw spectacular northern lights, and I was snoozing. I did not wake up, did not see them. So I was just happy that I was still awake at 11 p.m. and able to go outside and look up in the sky and check them out. So it was a good experience, worth a 4x6-inch pocket, even if the photo is not very spectacular itself. I'm going to add something to that. It looks a little plain to me even as I leave it there, but I, didn't change it yet. I'm pretty sure that black screen means that I went away and this is the next day. And so this is probably the next day. I've put out a few things. I've made a few changes here. I've decided to use the June Looks Like This vellum as a filler card here. And on the back side of it, I'm specifically putting it on the right side because the right side doesn't have something behind it yet. So I've already chosen what will be behind it, which is the floral vellum as well. I also use that Working So Hard. I have that as a digital element, put it on that photo and printed the photo up at 3x4. I also am I printed up Senior Sunset with the journaling below it and the words above it. And I'm going to use this little 0625 right here. And so I really like how that looks. And then I'm going to use this vellum right here. So basically off screen, I was thinking about the new supplies that came in from that Stories by the Month kit and how I might be able to incorporate some of these elements into this page that I have in the works. So I'm going to put this Every Summer Has a Story. And this summer's story is that my daughter graduated. And that fills up some of that space because the photo of her graduation in like the lawn photo, it looks pretty lonely there. Like there's so much of my yard showing on either side of it that the vellum does a good job of just adding another element there. And here's where I decide that actually I don't love how that Gamer Vibes card is looking on the overall spread of the layout. I do really like the card, but I just don't like it taking up real estate on the page. First of all, like the idea of the Switch 2 is already taking up a 4x6 pocket. I don't need it to take up 2 3x4s. So I'm deciding to layer those two and have a flippity flap there. It's going to be one of those photo flips from Simple Stories because it's on the left-hand side, so it has to be. I mean, there's other ways that you can put a flip there, but that's my favorite and easy way to do it. This is going to be a filler card. It's including that blue frame card as well as a piece of the chipboard that came in the Stories by the Month kit. It says, I wonder what it would be like to live in a world where it was always June. And that's a Lucy Maud Montgomery quote, which she's local to our region. So I thought that was a good quote to include. I don't always include quotes unless if they... sometimes I just include them just because they fill up a space and they look cute, but I try to use relevant quotes when I can. So there's one of those 3x4-inch photo flips from the Snap collection from Simple Stories. I'm going to put that there, and that means I'm going to need another 3x4-inch element because once you add a photo flip, you end up with 3x4-inch elements in the same space. So I just printed up a photo of Link. This is one of my screen saves that I used with the new app that you can use with the Switch 2 so that your photos automatically go to your phone and you don't have to go through a weird QR process to get them on your phone anymore, which is super fun. I'm really happy about that. And so I wanted to include one of my screenshots of Link, and I just put him in this little t-shirt that he had just found from the DLC. It's been so long since I played this game, I forgot that chest was even there until I jumped up trying to avoid a guardian and saw that there and realized, oh wait, I remember that t-shirt. So I put it on. I don't think I ever wore that t-shirt in my other save files. So I'm walking around Hyrule in some pretty nice threads. As you can see, as I was talking about link, I cut off a strip of colors from the tag and just put that along the edge. I really like how that looks. It just adds a little something to the photo. And I'm going to use this stamp set. This is an Ellie Studio stamp set. I have two of these labels. One is plain like this, and one has little hearts on it, and then the dies that coordinate with it to cut them out. Love the idea of stamping whatever labels you want in whatever colors you want, and then die cutting them yourself. So I went all in with this stamp set and bought the stamp set, the other stamp set, and the die set. There is another stamp set that they've released since then that I would love to get someday, and it has stars on it. So maybe I'll get that someday as well. And I need to find the right die first of all. So there it is. I did just use regular ink on this, and it was coming up on my fingers. So I wanted to just heat set it to make sure that it doesn't move around. Ideally with vellum, you probably want to use StazOn. I only have 2 or 3 colors of StazOn, so whenever I'm using vellum, I just use my own dye-based inks that I already have, and I'm just cautious with it. I heat set it, and I try to not touch it too much for a really, really long time. Once it's in the pocket, it doesn't really matter anymore if it's totally set forever and ever, because I don't know, I've never had it like smush once it's in the pocket. So there we have a custom die cut label in yellow, and I'm going to put my journaling on there. It says starting BOTW all over equals joy. And I don't know what I'm looking for here. I think I'm looking for my Slick Surface Writer. Even though the ink, the yellow ink is not permanent ink, I want to use a permanent black marker here. I could not find my permanent marker, so luckily I do have a backup over in my extra stuff drawer where I keep extra glue refills and extra Sharpie pens and whatnot. This is a Zig Mono Twin. It's 2 different tips, and it is an oil-based permanent marker, so it does not smear on any surface. So I like to keep it on hand. And the fact that it has, and of course, so I couldn't find my marker, my stapler's out of staples. These things always happen at the same time, don't they? Drop me a comment if you are constantly running out of tiny attacher staples. I don't know how I keep running out of them. I don't think I use it that much, but for whatever reason, I run out all the time. So I thought I would include the footage of me putting these into the pockets. I received good feedback about this last time. It sounds like you guys enjoy seeing this, so I will just slide all of these things in. I can't remember if I make any changes as I put these in, but I have a suspicion that I do. So let's see how this goes. Now I'm going to have to make a mental note that the next time I design the late June pages, that I already have one of those squares filled in with the vellum. That's the kind of thing I will almost certainly forget. So we'll see how I deal with that when the time comes. So we will just slide all these in. There's the other page. To be honest, I really like how the other page turned out. It took way less time and I like it more. But you know, not every page is going to be spectacular. There's nothing wrong with this page. I do like this page. I don't mean to say negative things about it, because I do really love having all these stories documented, and that's why I do this. I don't really care so much about how it looks or whether it looks all pulled together or designed nicely, but it does look designed nicely, so I'm happy with it. I just really, really love the page before it. So I feel bad for whatever page follows that one, because it's not my favorite, but I do love it. I gave some consideration to putting some wood veneers on this one, but I felt like, 7 hours is probably enough. Let's just say she's done. I am going to do one more thing though, because I mentioned that Northern Lights card looked just a little bit too plain for me, especially where the photo is kind of bland. So let's see what we might be able to add to that card. I pulled out my little drawer of special knickknacks that I might want to put on a page and couldn't find anything in there. Last time I pulled out a bow, last time I was in this situation. But so what I did was I found myself a little piece of chipboard. This is how I store my chipboard pieces. Love storing them like this. I have a video on my Patreon that shows me sorting them and keeping them like this. These are little trays from IKEA. They're paper trays. They're not super sturdy, but they're rigid. They're good enough. I thought about changing it for a blue one, but the pink one fit better under the word lights. It says super thankful for this. I think the phrase on the blue one made a bit more sense, but I am super thankful. I'm thankful that I live in a place where I can go outside and see the northern lights, and we don't have a lot of light pollution here. And I love living here, so it's good. Good to say that I'm thankful for it. I think that piece of chipboard really does finish off that card quite nicely. So that's it. I do have some photos as well, and I'll give a shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so a big thanks to them. Woo, that was fast. But here are the photos. I have a lot of them, so take a look at them. I had a really great time doing this page, even though it took so long. And my goal will be next time my page will be less than 7 hours. So hopefully we'll have a process video that's less than 1 hour next time. And I can share a little bit more of my process with you. Take care and have a really great scrappy week, and I'll see you next time.